When I start off to find somebody, I find them. That's why they pay me.
Why do you think Jackson may be assuming another name?
I would have found him already. I'm only interested in what name Jackson's hiding under now. The name Jackson's hiding under is
Carson.
Bill Carson.
Carson has a patch over one eye. He's with the third.
Canby's front line is right on their heels, those poor young devils, and the desert lies ahead of them.
Tell Baker that I told him all that I know already.
He also mentioned something about a certain, cash box.
I know nothing at all about that case of coins. Now that gold has disappeared, but if he'd listened, we could have avoided this altogether.
Keep talking. Not enough for you, eh?
Hello everyone, your intellectual movie guru here, and welcome to another movie review. Today's movie we're going to talk about came out in 1966. It's an Italian epic spaghetti western. Still to this day, it's a western that's talked about from generation to generation to generation. Today's movie we're going to be talking about is The Good and the Bad and the Ugly, starring Clint Eastwood, Eli Walsh, and Lee Van Cleef. This was a movie that a lot of people were very excited about back in the day. The reason for it is because this was going to have not only Clint Eastwood in the movie, but it was also going to have Lee Van Cleef. Two stars that have an interesting chemistry when put in different movies. This was one of a few movies that had Clint Eastwood in a western. And he did a pretty dang good job. This is also another movie where it had Lee Van Cleef in a western. And I personally am a fan of Lee Van Cleef. My brother, when he was alive, he was a big fan of Clint Eastwood. Me, I'm a big fan of Lee Van Cleef. So you can kind of see why me and him, we watched this movie on a almost ritual basis when we used to hang out a lot. But enough talking about this and that. Let's get straight into the deep details. Alright, so The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, also known as what I would call a western's western, an immovable epic film that has become a timeless classic in the pantheon of cinema exploring the Old West. This was easily Sergio Leone's masterpiece that he made during his impactful career, from A Fistful of Dollars to Once Upon a Time in America. This man became one of Italy's hottest directors from 1964 to sadly his passing in 1989. It may have been a career short-lived compared to some, but Leone left a long-lasting impression on all of cinema itself. So this film covers bounty hunters looking for buried Confederate gold during the bloody trials and tribulations of the American Civil War. This is the perfectly epic and tense setup for a western led by Clint Eastwood, playing as Blondie, Lee Van Cleef, playing as Angel Eyes, and Eli Walsh, playing as Tuco. Hence their namesakes in the movie's title. The three leads do a commendable job as wealth-hungry cowboys desperately trying to stay one step ahead of the other and survive one of America's bloodiest historical conflicts. Leone's direction is not only complemented by his choice of actors, but also the film's sweeping cinematography, capturing the feel and essence of the Old West in a pitch-perfect way. Not to mention the soundtrack. The soundtrack is iconic, and the theme song for The Good and the Bad, the Ugly is just pure mastery, in my opinion. The Good and the Bad and the Ugly is one of cinema's proverbial movies, and it's become one of the all-time greats for a good reason. It's taking history, remixing it in modern ways that it helps give the film a timeless appeal thanks to its direction, and not diluting the ruthlessness or vastness of the Old West in any way. It's a film that is non-conventional yet classically appealing in its reach of audience and scope of cinematic influence. If you want a movie that is a western's western, The Good and the Bad, the Ugly is where you're going to have to start. So what would I rate The Good and the Bad and the Ugly? For one, the acting, in my opinion, was on point. The vintage, in terms of how it was filmed, was on point. There was a couple parts in the movie where it kind of went on too long in terms of like the joke or the subject at hand. But it had a good way of transitioning to the next topic. Also, like I said, a lot of the acting was on point, especially in terms of Clint Eastwood and Eli Wallach's parts. And right around the time when Lee Van Cleef's character would come into play, that's when the movie really started to hit its really big suspenseful levels. And that's something that I really love about this movie. And yeah, there was some bits and pieces that weren't that good, and there was some parts that could have been cut out, but at the same time it makes a little bit of sense why some of the parts weren't cut out. So in terms of what I would rate this movie, it would probably be a nice solid 8 out of 10. The reason for the 8 out of 10 is, like I said, there was some subjects in the movie that lengthened longer than they should have, and they should have just ended a little more quickly. There was also some scenes that I wonder still to this day why it was kept in the movie. It was like some type of miscellaneous filler that was put in there, but I can kind of look past it. So in terms of The Good and the Bad and the Ugly, I would give it a solid 8 out of 10. But I want to let everybody know, thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it and everything. And until the next movie review, I am your intellectual movie guru, and I will see you next time.